Hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here for our exciting talk today about how scalable service ownership with PagerDuty leads to faster incident triage. My name is Brita Seltzer, and I'm a product manager at PagerDuty. My team's mission is to help customers accelerate problem solving by providing a single, scalable source of truth about systems, people, and events, and how they relate to each other. My co-host today is Stefano Prezioso, a software engineer at Twilio. I'm thrilled to have you here with me, Stefano, and it'd be great if you can share a little bit more about yourself and your background with our audience.
Yeah, thanks, Brita. I'm a software engineer on our site reliability engineering team, or SRE team, as it's commonly referred to. Right now, we've been focusing on our incident response process and a few other things within the organization to help grow our customer trust.
Awesome. Thanks, Stefano. Before we jump into a bit more about Twilio, let's talk a bit about service ownership in general. I've heard the following pain points from so many of our customers, and Stefano will talk about how Twilio faced some of these challenges as well. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, so I encourage you to speak up and talk about your pains as well, and if you have anything to add to this conversation. We are living in a time of constant change. Businesses are constantly iterating, teams are pushing code, often on a continuous cycle, and personnel changes are not only expected, but they are more frequent than ever. This pace of change makes it critical to have a source of truth for your technical infrastructure, services, their characteristics, and their relationships to the business evolve as the company evolves. Without a reliable understanding of the technical infrastructure, companies are vulnerable. There's risk of wasted time, energy, and money during critical moments of incident triage as responders try to pull together the pieces of what a service is, what service is having an issue, what the true impact is, and who to contact. I know that I've experienced this many times firsthand, a situation where you're in a room just full of people with no clear understanding of what the problem is, what the blast radius is, or even a strategy about how to get to a resolution. Not only is that painful, but it wastes time, top line, bottom line, and even reputational costs for a company. On the flip side, having a clear service ownership structure, especially metadata like dependencies defined in PagerDuty, provides a scalable, dynamic source of truth. Everyone has a clear understanding of what services are in need of attention, the blast radius of the problem to any dependent services, as well as easy access to what team or on-call owns each service. In the moments that matter, it's not about getting everyone in that room as a catch-all strategy for finding the right teams or the right people to contact. Clearly defined and effective service ownership strategies make it easy to identify the right people to pull into that room so that more time can be spent working towards a solution. And the whole guessing game about who or how to contact someone is just a bad memory. So instead, let your teams take that time to focus on resolving the problem at hand and lead them to faster incident resolution. Without further ado, I'll hand over the floor to Stefano, who will be talking specifically about how Twilio is leveraging service ownership to accelerate incident triage in this environment of constant change and evolution of their business.
Thanks so much, Brita. So again, as a software engineer at Twilio, working on our site reliability engineering team, our goal is to help make sure that all Twilio products and services are reliable and resilient to help maintain and grow our customers' trust. Today, we're doing this by partnering with our other engineering teams within Twilio to better understand the challenges that they are facing, as well as working to improve our systems and processes with regards to incident response. So why are we focusing our time on incident response at Twilio? Our number one priority is always customer trust. And as a rapidly growing organization, the communication and coordination across multiple teams can be very challenging. This can be due to responders not being fully aware of or understanding the relationships and dependencies between technical services, knowing which teams own which services, or how the interconnected web of services combine to provide the functionality of a given product offering. That challenge directly impacts our speed at which we can resolve an incident, which means if we can get better at this, we can reduce the downtime our customers may experience. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Twilio, we are a cloud communications platform offering APIs for communication channels like voice, SMS, video, email, WhatsApp, and more. We have a lot of well-recognized customers, including Airbnb, Shopify, the Home Depot, Uber, and Lyft. As you look through this page of logos, think about the digital communications you receive from these companies and how each one has to be handling customer communications at scale. Behind each logo, Twilio provides the tools to empower our customers to stay in touch with their customers. Whether it's a two-factor authentication text, a password reset email, order and delivery confirmations, or the newest breakthroughs in telehealth, Twilio is proud to be powering the builders of today with our APIs. One of our newest product offerings is called Flex, which is a cloud contact center platform. A call center might not be the first thing that jumps to mind when you think of communication APIs, given that most call centers are physical locations with a lot of specialized hardware, telephones, and agents sitting at desks. That being said, it was an area ripe for technical disruption, and we already had all of the tools needed to do so. Building on top of our existing APIs, we released Flex about 2 years ago and are already powering over 500,000 agents with our platform. The landscape of a global pandemic has rapidly accelerated the demand and necessity of a cloud contact center for many organizations. And we're proud to be powering many of the newly formed contact tracing initiatives in cities and states across the country. So what is Flex really? Flex is a web-based application that provides an incredibly flexible user interface for call center agents and supervisors to provide remote customer service over a multitude of channels, including SMS, text-based web chat, voice, WhatsApp, and more. The web client is designed to allow for extensive customization by our customers so they can provide the customer service experience that is right for their business. And depending on their configuration, they may be utilizing a suite of underlying Twilio APIs. Being built on so many underlying products means the web of technical dependencies for the services that power Flex can be quite complex and nuanced. Above is an incredibly simplified chart showing how some of our products, like our messaging API, act as foundational pillars for our Flex product. Inside each of these boxes is a multitude of technical services with their own unique relationships and dependencies on one another. If there's an incident with one of our underlying services for the Flex product, that means that the issue can bubble up and present itself to Flex agents. Given that each of these boxes can easily represent dozens of technical services and hundreds of engineers supporting them, the incidents that can impact Flex are often some of our most complex incidents from a coordination and triage perspective. A given incident can have multiple engineering teams working on triage across many different systems with multiple interface points in between each. This is the challenge that comes with today's modern microservice architecture and highlights the criticality of having an effective incident response process. As an SRE team, we've been focusing on improving the underlying infrastructure for Flex by improving our monitoring and testing, as well as maturing our incident response process as a whole. And we're doing that by looking to PagerDuty for guidance and best practices on both the process and the tooling. With the complexities of dependent technical services, we've had incidents that have been notably more difficult to triage and resolve due to not having the right people in the room at the right time. For example, if there is an impact to a Flex customer that is escalated through our customer support team to an engineering team, one of our Flex teams is usually going to be notified first. This may or may not be the right team, as the Flex organization alone has close to a dozen engineering teams, and it's not always immediately clear based on the impact who the right team to notify is. As such, the team tries to investigate and better understand the impact, which inherently takes time. If we are lucky, they happen to be the subject matter experts that can work through the resolution of the incident. If we're not lucky, they might need to reach out to a different Flex team to get the right subject matter experts involved. And if we're even less lucky still, they might be left trying to identify a root cause that is well outside of their area of expertise. That means the impact is somewhere in the supporting services outside of the Flex ecosystem in a different part of Twilio's tech stack. Having to let this process play out, where a team is notified, they investigate, are unable to identify the root cause or a path to a resolution, and then need to try to identify a different team that may know more, is incredibly slow and cumbersome when we're trying to resolve the incident for our customers. And with a quickly growing organization, this problem is only magnified as service ownership changes and what was once valid knowledge and understanding of our infrastructure quickly becomes outdated and ineffective for resolving an issue. We can no longer rely on the employees that have been at the company for a long time with deep levels of knowledge, as the company is changing and growing more rapidly than they can keep up with. Another example is when there's impact on a supporting service and the owners of that service are aware of the issue, but they're not aware that it is impacting their dependent services. This can leave other engineers responding to alerts as they try to begin the triage process when the team that needs to fix the underlying issue is already responding, but unaware of the nature of the impact. In a worst case scenario, these independent resolution efforts can be incompatible and compound the issue for our customers. In this case, the missing link is the coordination of efforts, as both teams are aware of the impact on their own services, but not the broader technical landscape of the incident. Now, I'm sure many of you are far too familiar with some of the challenges I just highlighted. While every technical architecture is unique, the type of problems we all have to deal with are very similar. Putting the necessary information at the fingertips of our responders is paramount to having an effective incident response process. Technical service dependencies are one of those necessary pieces of information because no one wants to be brought up to speed on architectural changes that fundamentally alter the relationships between services in the middle of an incident. Understanding what systems are impacted, how they relate to and depend on one another, and who owns each system in play for a given incident is critical. Having this information readily available will decrease the duration of customer impact, increase the effectiveness of triage efforts, and reduce frustration and stress during incidents. We definitely have work to do on our end, but we're excited for the road ahead. The first step in this process for Twilio is to clean up our technical services within PagerDuty to make sure that they correctly map to our microservices and other engineering infrastructure. We've already begun this work with our Flex teams to help set the gold standard for other teams to look to. The teams that have migrated are already starting to see the benefits of added alert clarity, additional flexibility with controlling notification urgency, reducing noise with suppression, and having meaningful analytics to utilize in regular operational review meetings. With well over 1,000 different services within Twilio, migrating all of our services will take some time, but utilizing PagerDuty's extensive APIs, we've been able to automate that process to help make the configuration and migration from our old services to our new ones much easier for our engineers. We've also begun to ingest our technical service dependency relationships into PagerDuty so that information can be quickly and effectively utilized during incident triage. We are still in early phases, but we're excited about putting this information at our triage engineers' fingertips. By exporting the mappings we have recorded today, and again, utilizing PagerDuty's APIs, we'll be able to automate most of that process so there's minimal manual effort necessary to get that information into PagerDuty. Finally, we hope to set up automations for all new services that are created or any updates made to existing services such that the services, service ownership, and technical dependency mappings can be kept up to date. As we all know, the architecture and organizational structure changes over time. We have plenty of room for improvement, but Twilio's commitment to customer trust is what has us continuing down this path and looking for ways we can continue to grow and mature as an organization. With that, I'll turn it back over to Brita.
Thank you so much, Stefano, for that perspective and story. I'm sure so many of the folks out there can empathize with the difficulties that you've shared. And I think it's really amazing to see how Twilio has evolved over the last few years with Flex, and I'm positive that the sky is the limit. And we're excited to continue to work with you and mature that incident response process. Now I'd like to do a short demo so we can show everyone in the audience what PagerDuty has done to continue to invest in this service ownership and dependency features so that we can help your teams continue to look forward and continue to innovate and not be stuck and mired in inefficient triage. So now I'd like to do a quick demo of how to use service dependencies within the PagerDuty UI. We're on the Soleil model service profile page. If we navigate to the Impact tab, we can easily see the service dependencies. On the left here, I have services that Soleil model depends on, and on the right, services that Soleil model feeds into or that depend on it. I can easily add, edit, or delete both business and technical services from the UI. Or I can leverage our API, Terraform provider, or ServiceNow integration to automate the source of truth. And once you've added service dependencies, you can quickly see critical information. You can see who's on call, the team that owns that service, their comms channel to reach out for more information, or click through to see more on that service profile page. Now let's take a minute to look at how this information can be incredibly valuable during incident triage. Here, Soleil model is having an active incident. On the incident details page, I can see my technical service dependencies here on the right-hand side. This information can quickly help responders answer 3 critical questions. The first, is this issue isolated to the service that I own? Second, is it an issue that is being caused by something that I rely on? And third, what is the overall blast radius? Are more services that depend on me being impacted as well? In the top here, I can see what services Soleil model relies on. And on the bottom here, I can see what services Soleil model feeds into or that depend on it. I can see in a quick glance that while Soleil model is having an issue, there's also a lot going on in the overall environment, which might indicate that this isn't just an issue that's isolated to my service. I can click to see who's on call and what those open incidents are to find out more information. And here I also have suggested service dependencies. This may be a dependency that my team hasn't yet created, or it might have been a change in the service topography that we weren't aware of. But PagerDuty has used machine learning in order to provide suggestions about service dependencies so that there are no blind spots during incident triage. To summarize, this information levels the playing field because whoever is that responder, they don't need to have tribal or experiential knowledge to have an understanding of the greater service architecture as they are triaging. It closes communication gaps because you can easily see who's on call and contact them for more information. And whether you're just starting to add dependencies or you've already added dependencies in PagerDuty, but your service topology has changed, we'll be there to provide suggestions so that we can fill in any gaps or blind spots in moments that matter. That concludes our demo and our talk for today. We look forward to hearing from you during the Q&A session, and thank you so much for your time.